Good morning, good morning. We have reached the stage in David's life when David flees Jerusalem. And just thinking about it again today, David, that great warrior, that man who fought lion and bear when he was a young lad looking after his sheep, that one who defeated Goliath, who was not afraid of the giant, that one who won so many victories that the songs that were sung about him compared him to Saul as 10 times the man that Saul was in battle. The man who was so war-seasoned that even God said to him, "You are not going to build the temple for me because you have too much blood on your hands." This is the man who meekly leaves Jerusalem because he doesn't want conflict, armed conflict with his son. It's an astonishing thought. But he is still the psalmist. He is still the singer, the songwriter. And Psalm 3, do read it. I'm going to read it now. Psalm 3 is entitled A Psalm of David when he fled from Absalom, his son. In the middle of all that trouble, David communes with God. And he says, Psalm 3, "O Lord, how many are my foes?" So many people had turned against him. So many people had chosen Absalom over him. His heart was breaking. Many are rising against me. Many are saying of me, there is no help for him in God. That's what he was hearing. God's not going to help David. David's been pushed to one side. God's choice now is Absalom. God has moved away from David. And then verse 3, "But thou, O Lord, art a shield about me, my glory and the lifter of my head. I cry aloud to the Lord, and he answers me from his holy hill." God has always been there for David, and he still is. That's his confidence. His confidence is that God is a shield. Sometimes we can feel that the world is against us. Nobody understands us. Everybody's turned away from us. And we're deserted by all. But the one we will never be deserted by is God. I cry aloud to the Lord, and he answers me. This is our experience. God hears and answers. We serve a God who speaks. We serve a God who speaks directly to us as individuals. It's a wonderful thing. The fact that God does not forget us. God is on our side. He wants the best for us. Verse 5, "I lie down and sleep. I wake again, for the Lord sustains me. I am not afraid of 10,000s of people who have set themselves against me round about. Arise, O Lord, deliver me, O my God, for thou dost smite all my enemies on the cheek. Thou dost break the teeth of the wicked. Deliverance belongs to the Lord. Thy blessing be upon thy people." So David is crying out to God for help. And I think verse 7, "Deliver me, O my God, for thou dost smite all my enemies on the cheek." I think David is asking God to sort it for him. He's asking God to bring about the deliverance because he still does not want to raise his hand against his own son. He doesn't want to do it. He's asking God to sort the whole thing out for him. And God does. God does. And actually we see, and you know the story probably, David does not raise his hand against Absalom. Others do it. And God sorts the situation out for him because this is the one incredibly weak spot in David's heart. It is his relationship with his son Absalom. So, sometimes we are overwhelmed. Sometimes we're overwhelmed by the situation that we're in. But David, quite rightly, comes to God. It's a mystery to me sometimes that there are those amongst us who life does throw a lot of horrible things at us. And it's hard. And it is a mystery to me that many, many people do the opposite of what David did. They turn away from God when trouble comes, when they can't cope with life. They withdraw. They withdraw from meeting with God's people. They withdraw from being with God. It's as if they set aside their relationship with God and go off to lick their wounds in a corner. But David, when he writes his psalm, seeks God. When all the people have turned against him, he seeks God and he takes strength from God. Just as he did at Ziklag, he took strength from the Lord. As best he could, he turned back to God. And this is where our help comes from. It doesn't come from within ourselves. It doesn't come from going to psychologists or psychiatrists or going for counselling. Ultimately, our strength comes from God. God who has been there, who knows all about the terrible ups and downs of life. He knows all about them. And he will be there for us. There's that lovely verse in Joel that says, I will restore the years that the locust has eaten. The promise that even when things have been bad for a long time, perhaps, God is well able to restore everything that has been taken, everything that we've been robbed of by the enemy, everything that we feel we've lost. God can restore it and will restore it if we turn to him. Turning to him is the best thing. Even when you're angry with God, even when you feel it's God who has moved and you are suffering for it. Some people feel like that when they don't understand the nature of God. They feel that God has somehow punished them for their sins. That punishment is not there anymore. Jesus took the punishment for our sins. It's a wrong idea that if we've done something terrible, God is going to punish us. No, God forgives. He forgave David, but the consequences of our sin hang around us, and the enemy has a foothold when we sin, and he takes every advantage of it. He's a dirty fighter, the enemy. But the enemy is defeated, and God will bring good out of everything that happens to us because he loves us. That's what it says in Romans 8. All things work together for good to those who love him. It's wonderful. That psalm, read Psalm 3 and think about David. Picture him in your imagination on the hilltop looking down at his capital city, which he's just fled from, in despair and crying out to God. Well, have a good day. I'll see you tomorrow, the Lord's Day. See you tomorrow. God bless you. Bye-bye.